Welcome to the ISB show. Sahil Ishana here covering women's football. It's been a while for all you women's football fans. We've been doing a lot of men's football, but of course, it was International Week for the women's football teams that were playing right now. So we got to cover the U.S. women's national team like we always do, Ishana. And this was a very interesting window for them because it started off with a defeat, but then two resounding victories after that.
Yeah, a rocky start. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They haven't played together in probably 4 months or so. But you know what? Credit to Portugal because this was a very different team that we saw from the Euro. I am looking forward to how they're going to continue to progress. They were super aggressive and they definitely gave us a showdown.
Yeah, so let's talk about the defeat first, and then we'll talk about what Emma Hayes and the U.S. women's team did after that to correct those mistakes from the first match. Um, what do you think was the biggest problem in the first match against Portugal?
They I mean, this sounds simple to say, but they just looked rusty. I don't know how else to say it. They weren't connecting their passes. They looked like they weren't playing with each other that well. There were a lot of give and goes where the other player on the other side wasn't there. I don't think Tulis Joyce, she looked a little rocky also
Yeah.
to me on her feet.
I thought
Yeah,
there were some defensive errors as well. I thought, again, McKeown didn't have the best of matches. And I think it's something where I thought, like you said, I think they came into the matches initially probably thinking, okay, this is a Portuguese team we've beat every time before, so it's going to end that way again. And that's not what happened. And then it took them that wake up call, I guess. It was a big wake up call before then they righted the ship for the rest of the window.
Yeah, I would say really the only players in that first game that stood out a little bit was I thought Lavelle had, even though she also was a little messy out there, she had a great comeback. She looked very strong, and I thought Michelle Cooper had some good play out wide the way she did throughout the tournament. But yeah, it looked disjointed. There was I will say there was a lot of fouling,
Yeah.
probably more than the ref called. And even though that goal was nice from Lavelle, I was probably offsides. So
Yeah. The first match was one that the U.S. team wants to forget. But then things turned around because all the headlines and everything coming out of that match was, wow, is the U.S. women's national team in trouble? And then we saw another match against Portugal, Olivia Moultrie with a good performance in that match. And then let's talk about the match that just finished against New Zealand. Ishana, this might be one of the best performances we've seen this team play.
yes, just going back 1 second though, I do want to point out one thing that was certainly a PK and or sorry, a penalty. Our fans get really upset when I call it a PK. That Portugal should have gotten a penalty. That was a clear. There was no ball in that action, so
In the second match, yeah.
yes, in the second match. So we could have had a different score on the board. But yes, moving to this last game, this was one of the best performances I've seen of the US women's national team, not just as a team as a whole, but individually, a lot of players as well.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that. I want to talk about which players stood out for this whole window. But one thing I want to say about this last match is the movement was fantastic. The passing was fantastic. Yes, New Zealand gave the players a lot of space, but they took advantage of that and they put together one of the most cohesive performances we've seen. And it was so impressive that so many of the young players were out there. So in this window, Ishana, I have a few thoughts as well, but I'll let you go first. Which players stood out for you as we build toward the World Cup in a few years?
Okay, I am very clear about this. I first of all, Michelle Cooper and Emma Sears. This union that they have, this cohesion is awesome. Emma Sears is a player that I've actually liked for a very long time because she is so cool, calm, collected on the ball, and she finishes in a way that I think other players do not.
Mm.
Obviously, she got a hat trick in this game, but I also feel like she's always positioned at the right spot and she follows through. Now, I I think we all know that Lily Johannes is an excellent passer. I mean, those long balls are amazing. That back heel, whew, in
Yeah.
this game was just sick. And you know that that combination out wide with the back heel is probably something they've been practicing with in camp because we saw it a few times. But I still need her to be a little less casual in the middle when she's coming back defensively. So in terms of standouts, yes, Sears, Cooper. I don't think this girl is getting enough credit. She's so good out wide. Yes, New Zealand was playing a little compact, but she certainly took advantage. The other player I thought who was great was Patterson. I have been looking for a sub for Foxy in
Yeah.
that outside back position. And I think that, and I hate to say this because Foxy, as everyone knows, is one of my favorite players. Not only is she a great sub, but I think Foxy's got to be a little careful in terms of holding that position for herself as a starter because while she is the most consistent, to me, one of the most consistent defenders aside from Naomi Girma, Emily Fox, I mean, she is not driving it as forward as much as she used to. And that's something I think we saw Patterson do, just like really taking risks. And I need her to play a little bit less conservatively the way she used to. She's fast too. So yeah, I would say those players. I thought Shaw had a decent
Yeah.
showing. And then I thought Dickey played all right. Out of
Yeah.
everyone I've seen so far, I think she looked the most confident out there.
That's what I was gonna say. I thought this was a very good window for Claudia Dickey because you saw Tulish Joyce in the first match, who we thought, okay, maybe this is the goalie moving forward. Didn't have a fantastic match, and Claudia Dickey had two fantastic matches. The save she made against New Zealand, wait, she didn't have to do much, but the save that she did make was fantastic, a phenomenal save, right? So I think everything that happened in this particular window was very, very beneficial for Claudia Dickey, and maybe she's put herself into the hat as okay, is this a starting goalkeeper for the U.S. team?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things again, just her body language in comparison. Maybe Tulis Joyce technically is a little bit better, but she looked more comfortable out there. She looked a little bit less nervous. And it's the same thing I think we saw a lot of the vets in that same way, kind of fighting for, okay, we see these young players.
Yeah,
We're going to get out there. Like I said, Lavelle had a cracker of a goal in this game, but she came out with fire. And I have to say, so I thought, Hutton played decently well. And
yeah,
I was like, okay, Heaps, she's gone. Like between like Lavelle, Coffee, Hutton, this is like the combination out there. This was probably the best I've seen Heaps play. I can't even remember when
yeah,
she was. I mean, those through balls, the way she fed it to everybody. It's the same way like Lily Johannes fed to Cooper. Cooper got the assist. I feel like Heaps was doing that work out there as well. She almost scored a few times. I mean, the give and goes were on point. And defensively, when she was like defending on the ground even and got up,
yeah.
this was I know a lot of people give her a hard time, but this was a very solid game by her. And
It was, yeah.
I see a future for her in the team. I don't know if she'll be starting or not, but she certainly proved based on today's performance.
Yeah, and that's what's happening with this team. Now you saw the youth come in and make a statement match against Portugal, and now some of the veterans came in. You talk about Rose Lavelle, Lindsay Heaps. They came in and said, "We're here too," and they fought so hard for every ball. And you can just tell how this team is formulating without triple espresso, and that's what makes me ask this question: where this makes us feel okay, this is the team that we want to see because there's so much depth here. There's so much depth. It's so exciting. So I know Spain is ranked number 1 and of course England came off the big Euro victory. But can we start saying again that the US team is the best in the world? Can we start saying that a little bit or what? Are we still not convinced?
I mean, I don't know. I think we got to play a better team than New Zealand today. I mean, we had a lot of room to do our tricks, to do our whole thing. I still feel like there's certain times we're a little too fancy up there that definitely cleaned up towards in the second half of this game, but even though Macario got the brace, for example, sometimes I feel like she does a little bit too much, which she pared down. Alyssa Thompson, I hate to say it, but she's like kind of a bubble player for me right now. She's also one of those players who's like stacked with potential. We'll see how she does with her recent move to Chelsea, but she also needs to kind of calm it down a little bit. I feel like she's super fast, very fancy, and sometimes if we get into that zone instead of the way we were playing today, I think that's when we lose that team aspect. But today was a very cohesive and honestly very nice game to watch. And if we can continue that way, then sure, I think we could see what happens. I would really like to see though a friendly against an England, against a Spain.
Yeah,
We got Italy coming up. That'll be nice, but
that'll be good.
these questions are not going to be answered unless we're tested in that
Yeah.
capacity.
We always talk about the US team missing chances and not finishing well. They finished a lot, 6 times exactly against New Zealand, another 3 against Portugal. So in the last few matches, putting 9 goals. That's what we like to see if you are a US women's fan. For all you fans out there, let us know in the comments what you thought about this window for the US team. Are there other teams out there that you want us to talk about from a women's perspective? Let us know who you think are the top teams that can actually challenge the US besides the ones that I named. But for those of you enjoying these videos, please subscribe to the channel. We will see you very shortly in a few weeks for you women's fans. More content on this channel on the men's side, but in a few weeks, another international break coming up for the women. See you all soon. Keep watching the beautiful game.
And go Dodgers. Hopefully we get it after. We're blue for Tren, who are missing, and the Dodgers.